Kia ora, good evening. The death of a crewman on board a Korean fishing vessel at Berthton Bluff today is being investigated by police. An Indonesian national died on board in an incident that's believed to be a workplace accident. It was reported to police last night. Police, in conjunction with Maritime New Zealand, began interviewing crew who witnessed the incident when it berthed just after 3 p.m. The vessel was fishing in the Southern Ocean near the Auckland Islands within New Zealand waters when the incident occurred. Police are investigating the man's death on behalf of the coroner and are liaising with the Indonesian embassy to contact the man's next of kin. A post-mortem is scheduled for tomorrow. The fishing vessel is operated by Northland Deep Water, who refused media access today. A life raft and squab belonging to the missing 7.5 metre yacht Munetra have been found. Local fishermen found the life raft washed up at Flower Cask Bay on the southern end of Stewart Island late Friday night, while the squab was found at Paihia near Colac Bay yesterday afternoon by a resident. Police have verified both items belong to the missing yacht, which departed with 3 German nationals on board and has not been sighted since it left Bluff Harbour on the 16th of April, destined for Preservation Inlet in Fiordland. Today, police personnel and 15 Landsar volunteers began scouring the southern coastline by foot and 4-wheel motorbikes at low tide, covering from Colac Bay to west of Tuatapere, searching for further signs of the missing yacht. Queenstown is set for a boost, with the airport announcing year-round night flights have been given the go-ahead, with aviation authorities today approving the Foundation safety case for after-dark flights into the tourism destination. The airport has long been consented for night flights until 10 p.m, but flights could only operate in summer due to limited daylight hours. Airlines now assess demand for evening services and apply to the regulator for individual operator approval. Some of the main elements required to operate after dark flights include widening the runway by 15 metres, installation of a comprehensive aeronautical lighting package, crew selection and training, and changes to flight procedures to reduce pilot workload on the final approach. Year-round night flights are not likely before winter 2016. Out New Zealand are holding their AGM in the city with delegates attending from all over the country. Greypower President Roy Reid says there will be a steady stream of politicians from all the major parties addressing the delegates and that they may not all be comfortable with the reception they receive. Hunter Andrews asked Mr Reid what he thought the key issues were facing Greypower members.
Key issues are really the cost of electricity, the cost of rates, and the availability of elective surgery, especially for those that need knees, hips and eye cataract surgery. They seem to be the areas where there are delays in getting access to surgery. But we're also concerned with the way that elective surgery is allocated, and because it varies from district health board to district health board, and there's 20 of them in New Zealand, and they all seem to have their own set of rules, and we want to see some standardisation in the availability of elective surgery.
You mentioned let's go to energy, which is power bills seem to be ever increasing. You have that agreement with Pulse though?
We have an agreement with Pulse, and we have our own brand name, Greypower Electricity. It's not in every case, but in about 95% of the cases right through New Zealand, that will be the cheapest price available. Some members in certain areas are making quite big savings on their power account of $300-400 a year. Where I live, the saving I'm making is about $20 a month, or just over $20 a month, and we're not big power users. So
it all adds up though, doesn't it?
It adds up. You take a single person living alone on single superannuation with no other supporting income, it's a major struggle, and we are well aware of people that go to bed early in winter to try and keep warm, and they do not heat their houses properly, and that just leads to further ill health
Okay, well, it is an election year, and of course Grey Power doesn't fly any sort of particular flag, political flag at all, but you'll be watching with interest as this campaign unfolds, and you've got some significant figures coming to address you in the next few days.
Yes, we have Kevin Haig from the Greens, David Cunliffe from Labour, Joe Gucci from National, and of course Winston Peters from New Zealand First. And we selected they're the four main political parties currently in Parliament. Just recently we've been to Parliament. We were in there for 4 days. We've questioned all the parties on their manifestos. Don't think they really appreciated us asking them what their policy meant.
Do you think they're all going to get a comfortable time here in front of this audience?
No, I don't think they will. But our intention is that in our magazine, which will come out in the first week of September, we will print an article outlining exactly the policy as they have explained it to us.
The development of the relationship between the Southern Institute of Technology and the Malaysian-based International College of Advanced Technology, or ICATS, took another step today with the visit of a delegation from the college. SIT and ICATS signed a memorandum of understanding in March that could see Malaysian students completing a portion of their education at SIT. If it all goes well, it's expected that ICATS students could be here studying by year's end. Hunter Andrews asked ICATS chairperson Tan Sri how important international partnerships such as this were for his institution.
It is quite important to us because we would like to have connection with institutes or institutions outside Malaysia, so that to get what you call recognition for our students from an international university. So we do have cooperation with institutes and universities in Australia, and now with New Zealand, and we do have some other relationship with even in countries like institute in Germany and in India, for example. Yeah.
The SIT ICATS is similar. The numbers of students, number of staff, the facilities. So we are matching on that curriculum with number of students. The program that we have and the program that we have are more similar. And the target group is more similar. And our mission is more similar, meaning to say employment. After graduation, there are employment for them. So like ICATS, we have also that type of mission. So our students to get employed after graduation. That's our mission. We don't want our students to be unemployed when we train them. We want to make sure that they have a good job after graduation. Yeah.
Relationships like this depend on that people-to-people contact, and so it's really important that Tan Sri, the chair of ICATS, and also Dato Baharudin are familiar with us and know about us. And of course Tan Sri has been here 3 or 4 times already. He's had links with SBS and has had a tour of the smelter, so he knows about the region as well. Dato Baharudin has been here a couple of times, so you need to get that sense of trust and that relationship going before you can actually get programs to work together. And then even though you do written formal agreements, it's all about that people-to-people relationship. This visit now will be getting down to the real specifics, so we'll be sorting out the specific pilot projects that we're starting with, and obviously we've flagged a few of those in ESOL and hotel management, tourism, and perhaps in the trades area. So there'll be different models for different programs, but it's important to get that overall trust first, and then you do the specific programs, and that's where we're at today.
And maybe as early as next year underway?
Absolutely, maybe even by the end of this year, so certainly next year, but maybe a little sooner.
Stay with us, still to come. Invercargill's skatepark rebuild ramps up, and we check out the power of grey power. Welcome back. Providing the weather plays the game, Invercargill's new skate park should be finished on time according to contractors.
The $750,000 redevelopment project includes facilities for skateboards, scooters, BMX bikes, as well as a bowl, safety fencing, surveillance cameras and improved lighting. The calibre and position of the skate park became a contentious issue by users who claimed the 17-year-old facility was obsolete by today's standards. The redevelopment project's funded with a $100,000 loan from the Invercargill City Council and grants from ICC of $200,000, $250,000 from the Lotteries Board, $150,000 from the Invercargill Licensing Trust and its foundation, and $50,000 from the Community Trust of Southland. The new skate park has been in the planning for several years and is set to open by the end of May.
As mentioned earlier in the bulletin, the city is hosting the Grey Power AGM. Speaking today was Green MP Kevin Haigh. Mr Haigh told Grey Power members that his party favours a return to values-based politics.
Well, I want to talk to Grey Power members today about values and about values-based politics, because our belief is that since 1984 we have had a succession of governments led by both National and Labour that have put the economy first, put the economy in front of people, have constructed the role of the state actually as being a servant of the economy, greasing the wheels of industry and commerce. We think that's wrong. We want to go back to the idea of the state that was espoused by Michael Joseph Savage in the 1930s, where the state became the embodiment of New Zealanders' collective responsibility to look after each other and to create a better world, a better society for our children and grandchildren.
It was a very different world though, wasn't it, in Michael Joseph Savage's time? There was a lot more manufacturing, domestic manufacturing. The world was a very different place.
The world was a different place in the sense that the threats that we faced were somewhat different, but the basic ideas, the basic values of New Zealanders are actually no different. The challenges that we faced in the 1930s were coming out of depression. Okay, we're right now coming out of a global financial crisis. At that time, we faced the prospect of world war. Right now, we face the prospect of climate change and other sort of massive threats to our way of life, to our values, to our future. I believe that when we are faced with such threats, we need to respond by banding together and actually supporting each other. That's what the Greens stand for. And I think that that's what Grey Power members will stand for as well. That's a kind of society that they wish we still had, because when we have the kind of society driven by John Key, by a government that sees its role as just being the servant of the economy, what happens is we get rising inequalities where the rich do pretty well, but everyone else pays the price. And quite often it's Grey Power members who are the everyone else.
Also addressing Grey Power members was Pulse Energy CEO Gary Holding. Pulse Energy has an agreement with Grey Power to supply electricity to members under the Grey Power electricity plan. Hunter Andrews asked Mr Holden for his thoughts on the industry since deregulation under the Shipley-led national government 15 years ago.
The market's come full circle. A large part of those reforms was to separate lines companies from retail. Well, that just caused the retailers to line up with generators, and now we're talking about generators separating from retail. And it's now possible for a lines company to get back into retail. So we've kind of gone full circle.
Further regulation required?
But I think I don't think further regulation is required. But I do think that the wholesale market needs to be more liquidity needs to be added to the wholesale market to allow independent retailers to continue to grow, and in fact to allow some of the larger players to grow as well, because they tend to be constrained by their own generation size. So it's I think if there's changes, it'll be in liquidity and market, finding a way to let those low users that are using a small amount of power get a better price, and then thirdly, I think it's going to be the advent of distributed generation like solar power that marks the next 15 years.
The future is in efficiency then, so efficiency is the key. Do you think maybe power will go up but we'll be using less?
Yeah, I think that's already starting to happen actually. high efficiency light bulbs are starting to be the normal way that people are powering their house, and partly driven by high prices. You know, when high prices come, you tend to seek alternatives, and so demand is falling per household as we speak. I think things like televisions are more efficient than they were 15 years ago, and washing machines are more efficient, refrigerators are more efficient. So everything's getting more efficient. The next stage in that evolution is to put a bit of generation on your rooftop and make some of your own power, and to do that by saving some money would be ideal, and I think that's coming because it seems to be happening elsewhere in the world.
Less pressure to marry may be impacting on the latest marriage statistics. For the first time in more than 12 years, less than 20,000 New Zealand marriages were registered to New Zealand residents. In the last year, 19,237 Kiwi marriages took place, with 209 to same-sex couples. New Zealand continues to be a popular destination for tourists to marry, with 2,416 marriages registered to overseas residents, including 146 same-sex marriages. There are also 187 civil unions registered to New Zealand residents and an additional 46 to overseas residents. Same-sex civil union numbers almost halved on last year, but opposite-sex civil unions are holding their own for both resident and overseas couples, according to Statistics New Zealand. And that's all from us this Tuesday. Weather's up next, followed by sport from the news team. Good night.